Okay, everyone, we're going to get started. Welcome to the TAPPS 2019 Fine Arts General Session. And every year as this convention grows and the sessions get better and we get more sponsors and we get everything else kind of growing, we've also added an honor choir, which we'll be talking about in a little while, which is really a special thing. And we're very proud of what TAPPS has done in the Fine Arts Department and how it continues to grow every year and evolve. To begin things, though, the people who have helped us this year has been, to get this thing off the ground with the convention, has been our sponsors. And as you've seen, hopefully go by and see them in the Brazos room, in the lobby. They're around. They're very interested in meeting you guys and talking to you and seeing if they have some solutions that will work at your schools. I'm going to talk with one of our Platinum sponsors. Brock, you can come on up here. Galvin, E-Team sponsor, has a short presentation for you.
Thanks, Steve. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brock, and like Steve said, I'm here with E-Team sponsor. As you can see on the screens in front of you, I'm going to give a short presentation on the easiest fundraiser you could ever do. So I want to give you a little bit of background on who we are. We actually flew out from California just yesterday. Our founder, Steve Jacoby, is right here in the front row, so you can say hi to him at our booth afterwards. Started this in San Francisco Bay Area. The concept is pretty simple. We've teamed up with a number of fundraising partners, including TAPPS, across the country to create a system that eliminates a variety of problems that you and your programs face. The first one, which probably will resonate, is budget issues. We know that you have to fundraise in order to be able to travel, in order to be able to participate in the competitions across the state that you're going to. Another problem that we see with a lot of programs like y'all's is that they're very locally based when you do go to fundraise. So you'll do a lot of selling in town with coupon cards or cookie dough sales or putting on potlucks and that sort of thing. So we wanted to create a solution that reached out beyond the local community. Next thing is just time constraints. We know that each of y'all are busy. Even seeing fundraising on the screen might have made you shudder a little bit because it's not something you want to devote time to, and we totally understand that. Last one is transparency. So from your administration perspective, for your school to be able to track money coming in and out, sometimes with certain fundraisers, that's hard to do. So we created this solution. There's 3 ways we're going to reach out to supporters and 3 ways that supporters will be able to donate. The idea is that this process is quick. It's going to take you and your programs 30 minutes total. It'll take the students 30 minutes total. And here's how it works. We're going to reach out through email, through social media like Facebook and Twitter, and through text message to reach beyond that local community to get it into supporters' hands who can then donate towards your program either online, by mail, or by phone. So the way it works is our rep actually comes to your school, films a short video of your program, which you'll see in step 1. Step 2, the students will pull out their cell phones and they'll text out the campaign to friends and family, they'll post on social media, and then they'll add in their 20 emails. And then you notice in step 3, you'll be able to keep track of your fundraiser through your account, so you'll be able to log in, see how much money you've raised, see who the donors are. Here's a few examples of parochial schools across the country who've utilized the system. We do this with, of course, athletic programs, but programs like y'all's do really well with this. So all it takes is the 30-minute meeting. You'll notice a band program here in a second. Cheer does this as well. I know that there are choir programs that are traveling across the state. Really good way to supplement your budget. Again, all it takes is 30 minutes. Couple other notes. 80% of the money comes from outside your local community, and we average $350 per participant with private and parochial schools. So if you're interested in learning more, we have all sorts of free little goodies at our booth. Feel free to stop by. Would love to meet you and help out your program. We have a rep who's going to be able to come to your area as well. His contact information is on the screen now. I'm going to let that hang for a moment. In case you are interested in learning more, feel free to jot that down. And then also come by our booth. So thanks so much for the opportunity. Thanks for the time, and we'll see y'all soon.
Thank you, Brock. Also, we want to give a shout out to the official video board sponsor of TAPPS, which is Daxtronics. As you can see, these two beautiful boards on both sides of me. They've been with TAPPS since the last 3 conventions. They've stepped up, and we do appreciate them as a sponsor. And now we are going to prayer, and we have Jerome Milton and Bob Gerhart are coming to the front. Their prayer at the track coaches meeting got us through one of the hardest weekends we've had with weather, and we were able to run 2 meets on one day. So I didn't figure it was luck. So we're going to see if these two guys can get the rest of this convention through for us as well. So Reverend Milton, Bob Gerhart.
Thank you all so much for being here, and let's start with a word of prayer. Father, we just come before you today thanking you for who you are and the blessings that you give us every day. Father, I particularly want to thank you for the men and women that are here today that do such a great job with our kids. Father, they minister to them, but they teach them a love of the arts, Father. And I know that's important to you because you just love us so much and want us to shine in so many areas. Father, I just pray your blessings on each school and the ministry they have in their communities, but Father, especially on these people here that minister to our kids and share their love of the fine arts with them. Father, we just thank you and we love you.
Father God, we thank you for the Texas Association of Private and Parochial Schools, what we do in fine arts and in athletics. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for the vision those many years ago, and we're still on the mission. Bless everyone that came. Continue to give them traveling grace. Bless those who are here, and give us, Heavenly Father, the kind of vision and energy and passion to get new things and new ideas and new visions and new dreams and take back to our respective communities and schools. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
And now the president of the TAPPS Executive Board, Mrs. Becky Blosser, has a couple of words of welcome.
I'm Becky Blosser from Round Rock Christian Academy, and I've been your board president for the last 2 years. I want to thank you guys all for coming and attending this convention. I hope that you found it worthwhile so far, and we continue to hope that everything that you have the opportunity to learn today will be a great benefit to you at your schools. I would like to take this opportunity to also introduce 2 other board members who are in here. Front row right here, we have Brenda Russell from CTCS, Central Texas Christian, and we have Roger Bemis from Beaumont Kelly. I'm sorry, what? Okay. So I was supposed to introduce Brian, but he's not in the room right now. Want to just also ask that if you have any questions or concerns, please find any of the board members who have a little says board member right here on the front, or our AEC or our TAPPS staff, or they have shirts that say TAPPS on. If you have any questions or concerns, just let us know, and that we will do our best to get the answers that you need. Thank you so much.
He'll be next. He'll be next back here, and then I'll do the other. Okay. All right, now Miss Vina Williams. Oh, here's Brian Bunselmeyer. At 6'10", how we lose him, I don't know, but yeah. And also, as he comes up here, despite what he looks like, you would think he's just a person who's in athletics. He's one of the top fine arts people in this state, and has a great background in that and a great love and passion for fine arts. So, Mr. Brian Bunselmeyer.
If I raise the mic, then Vina can't talk, so I'll just try to talk loud and we'll all get through it. I do appreciate y'all being here today. It's been a while since we had a convention, kind of the Omni style, where we all came together for a couple of days and had our meetings. It was kind of our dream back then with Mr. Burleson. It continues today to bring our athletics and our academics and our fine arts and our music, and now this year, for the first time, our honor choir. And we're very excited about being able to offer that opportunity. We've worked really hard. Vina's done most of the legwork, but we've worked really hard to try to create an atmosphere of fine arts that adds a value add to your school, an opportunity for your students to express those ideas that they have and the opportunities and the giftings that they have. And I thank you for leading them through those issues. We've had some ups and some downs, and we've kind of figured out some places. We've been some places that asked us not to come back, and now we're pretty much on an even front. The last couple of years, we've been able to come back to the same places and not go beg and say, hey, can I do something outside a tree? If you were at the old Concordia University, the big tree outside the gym, at some point that was going to be the next art studio. We knew that's where we were coming. That's where on-site drawing was going to be. And now that tree's no longer there, and I cried a little bit when I drive by, and it's now just a complex. It's not even what it used to be. But at least here with the security presence, we don't have the bank robbers running through the old Concordia University. So if y'all lived through that one with me, that was when Mr. Burleson said, fine arts are now yours. I am not going to take responsibility anymore. We have 40,000 kids in TAPPS. 40,432 students are in TAPPS. And I'm proud to say that your fine arts students outnumber the athletic students in the activities they're involved in. But it really doesn't mean we have more fine art kids. That's applause. What it really means to me, too, though, is you're doing a lot of crossover opportunities. And I really appreciate the opportunities that you and the coaches give for a kid to express all the gifts they have. I cannot sing. I cannot play an instrument. I cannot draw a straight stick figure. But I have a great appreciation for the fine arts. Yes, I directed a one-act play. No, we did not place well. That was in the UIL. I credit it with the fact that the prison made my set, and my set didn't last through the play, but I think it was more my leadership, so I will take full responsibility for that. As we go forward, as you go to your sessions today, as you go through your clinics, that's one of the things that we want to add to the convention next year. We want to get your input on what do we need to do, how can we help make you better. One of the other things for TAPPS is that we want to provide sessions and opportunities that are continuing education opportunities in your field. When I was a vice principal and when I was at Liberty, we would have people come back and say, I'm going to go to a convention, but there's nothing there for me, but I need to get the CEUs, so I'm going to go. So our goal is if you're a choir teacher, the CEUs you're getting are from a choir convention or from a choir clinic that gives you value back. The other side of that is, the preaching word today is, we are competition with honor. As I said yesterday to some of the new athletic directors in new schools, TAPPS is a community. If you've been around me long for the academics, and I'm sorry, it's been 20 years now since I started TAPPS Academics and stood in front of a crowd here, we are a community. And my school doesn't get to play academics or art or drumline or orchestra or whatever the case may be if you don't play. We all need each other. It is about competition. I love to win. I want to win tiddlywinks. I want to win dominoes. But I don't have that opportunity. Solitaire is not a game I enjoy. Beating myself does not bring me great joy. So at the end of the day, I thank you for participating. Our board thanks you for participating. Vina thanks you for participating. And at the end of the day, your kids thank you for giving them the opportunity. As we look forward to refine, we want to get better. I think we've got a pretty good base, and we're proud. We had more kids participate in fine arts this year than ever before, and that's a credit to y'all. I still love to give a championship. I love to give a blue ribbon. If I were to enter art, you would not give me a ribbon. I would not give an honorable mention purple ribbon, so I'm okay with that. One thing I would like to do is recognize Vina in front of you while we're here. Vina's put an incredible amount of time. She actually learned robotics, which first robotics, I had done robotics years ago. So it was me or Vina. I thought long and hard, and I decided Vina was it. I told her I flipped a coin. I did not flip a coin. I confess in front of all of you, I just assigned it to her. But robotics was a success. As you go home, if you'll think about the robotics, we've got some folks from Riker that have been here and some others that have helped. Robotics has been a big success, and it will be added to the academic days. So robotics is going to come out of May, if she hadn't already told you, and move back in. So I appreciate you being here. We're looking forward to a great 2 days. You've got a great speaker coming up. Thank you again from TAPPS for doing what you do.
And we have another very special guest from the city of Waco, Todd Burtka. Todd Burtka recently came on board to manage the Waco Convention Center and the Waco Convention and Visitors Bureau. Todd comes to Waco with a wealth of experience from the tourism world, including stints with the Visit Indianapolis, Hawaii Visitors Bureau, Nashville Convention and Visitors Bureau, Greenville, South Carolina Convention and Visitors Bureau, and most recently Virginia Beach CVB. He has also worked for Disney and looks forward to bringing the best of his experiences with him to Waco. Todd is a certified associate sales executive. He is married to Mindy and has 3 boys, 2 of whom are in college, and the third just graduated from high school. Congratulations. And it seems like he had a lot of fun jobs. So hopefully Waco is as fun as what I've seen on this piece of paper. Welcome to Todd Burtka.
Well, thank you very much. That's a lot of moving around. So we're really glad that we're here in Waco and done with the moving. In fact, well, we've got one more move. We're moving into our new house in a couple of weeks here, so we're excited about that. And yes, my youngest finally is graduating Friday. So we're excited about that. We're excited to have 3 kids in college, right? So it's a great pleasure to be here. This conference particularly strikes a chord with me. Help me with the pun here. Just want to make sure it's after lunch. We're paying attention. I was both a athlete and a music performer all through high school and college. So both of these disciplines are near and dear to my heart. And so on behalf of Mayor Kyle Deaver, the City of Waco Chamber of Commerce, the City of Waco, our Waco hospitality partners, all of the folks in this building, we are thrilled and honored to have you here for your 2019 annual convention. This seems to be a thing with y'all, and so we're excited that you're here and that you continue to choose to come back. We know you have other choices. We know it's fiercely competitive out there, but what I think we have here is a relationship, a bond of friendship and mutual respect and appreciation for what each other is doing. I want to, before I personally thank Brian and the TAPPS board for sure, but we've got a couple of unsung heroes sitting in the back row, and that's usually their thing. They're the paddles under the water that are scurrying like crazy. And I really want Jason and Mandy and Rhonda to stand up, and be recognized. Jason, it's okay. Jason's taking a break. He's going to be down washing dishes in a few minutes, and we just wanted him to come up and be recognized. But the relationship that he's forged with you all is really second to none, and so that's what we pride ourselves on. So let me walk you down. We've had a long-lasting relationship with you all for sure, but let's just talk about memory lane in the past year alone. I'll throw some statistics at you. We've hosted 25 TAPPS events this past year. 25 in this destination. That is remarkable. 16 state championships, 6 regional all-state selection meetings, and 3 meetings and annual conventions. The gate attendance of all of those events is more than 45,000 visitors. The student participation alone is 25,000 visitors, and the estimated hotel room nights that these events just this year alone have generated for the city of Waco is 18,000 room nights. Give yourselves a hand, because we are so appreciative of that commitment to our destination. We really appreciate it. The city of Waco appreciates the opportunity to partner with you in your initiatives, your endeavors. We know that youth face challenges in today's society, and the ability to participate and build character and values through fine arts, sporting events, valuable lessons of teamwork, critical thinking, partnerships are skills that last a lifetime. And so we share this responsibility with you to help shape and use this venue and our city as the perfect backdrop for these values and these expectations. And we're really excited about what you've done with us and where we continue to build this relationship. We're blessed to have many wonderful attractions here. We're getting better all the time. We've got more restaurants to check out, more shops to check out when you're not in the business of your meetings. And so we would encourage you to do that. Explore the new Waco, so to speak, because year over year, it's changing. We're adding 41% new hotel product in the next 3 years alone. That's 41%. That's a huge increase by any stretch. And so the rest of the community and the hospitality product is quickly following that pace. And so don't forget about the Texas Ranger Museum, the Waco Mammoth National Monument, Dr. Pepper, the Cameron Park Zoo, and of course, Magnolia. And so if you don't have time this trip, come back. Bring the family, do a vacation, stay a couple of days. We're always here to welcome you. And so with that, I really want to thank you again. I appreciate it. I'm honored to be up here. And again, anything that you need from me, you're obviously in great hands with Jason and our team. But my office is right downstairs, and I'm always here for you guys. So thank you again, and have a great, awesome conference. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to introduce the Fine Arts Director of TAPPS, Miss Vina Williams.
Well, I'm all glad that you're here, spending your summer days with us. I do want to say thank you to all the teachers that make my job a little easier throughout the year. I couldn't do it without the volunteer hours that you put in and the communication that you keep up, and I just appreciate it. And the joy that I find in my job is mostly because of the teachers that I work with, and so I appreciate you for being here, giving up your summer, and just trying to further your programs at your school and give something back to your students. I do want to just take a moment to talk about some of the events that we've added in the last few years, because some of you may not be aware of all the TAPPS events that we have for fine arts. Brian mentioned robotics earlier. We had our second year of robotics this year. We had about 20 teams, and it was pretty awesome. They filled the Chisholm Hall, just the room next here, and they all did pretty great jobs just pulling together a team, getting their robots in working condition, competing against each other and with each other. The first program is really amazing with their alliance, how they have to work with other teams throughout the morning, and then how they pick who goes on to the finals with them. And it's a really neat program. So if you are considering introducing some more STEM courses in your school, please consider first robotics. TAPPS does the first tech challenge at our championship event. This year it will be part of our academics meet, and so the art and academic meet that takes place here at the Waco Convention Center, the robotics will also be a part of those days. So if you need information, we have some robotics sessions tomorrow. One of them is how to start a team, what it takes, finding mentors, what do you need at the school level, and then how to engage the students. One of the misconceptions that robotics teams have is that you have to be a science geeky math person, and that's not the case. I've met several teams this year that one of the students' job is just to do social media and keep up with the notebook and journal the process, and they don't even touch the robot. Their choice. But there's a spot for different students in your school to be on the team and contribute. So robotics, like I said, we just finished our second year, and so it is growing. We had more teams this year than last, and we anticipate even more teams. We have some schools showing up tomorrow just to find out more about it, so that's exciting. In the fall this year, we also had a marching band, and we had, it was also our second year to offer marching band. We've had drumline for a few years now, but the marching band is new. We had started out with 5 for the first year, or maybe 3 marching bands and 3 non-marching bands. And this year we had 9. And I do want to tell you that at our fall band event, the marching band, we have 2 different categories. One is the non-marching, so that just getting the kids out there and performing on the football field in straight lines is something to accomplish. But then the actual marching in formation and choreographing the music, we have that contest as well. We do have a vendor here today, Performance Academy in San Antonio, that their specialty is helping marching bands get started and helping choreograph how that all works out. So there'll be a session later for that. Drumline is growing. We had more teams at the squads at the Drumline event. We're looking to have some discussion later on about growing the Drumline programs later this afternoon. So Drumline and Marching Band, if you are considering or you have been a part of the last couple of years, be sure to go to that Drumline and Marching Band discussion session. This year we introduced a fall photo contest. We weren't expecting very many entries, and I had 3 volunteer judges from local universities say, we'll judge those. And once we got the entries, there were several hundred, and they said, we need more than 2 weeks to judge this. And so we ended up extending the deadline just for the judges and finding more adjudicators just because there was so many photos. And it was amazing, the work that was turned in. We highlighted those winners at our academic and art meet in the spring, and we were able to display their work, and it was rather lovely. So the fall photo contest is open to any students. They don't have to be in your art program. They don't have to take a photography class, but basically each student can enter up to 5 photos, and they just get adjudicated, and the best photos are selected. It's a pretty interesting contest, but we had some very fine work. It was really great. Also in the fall, we have our one-act play. One-act play is one of our district model events where the schools are divided into districts, and within your division with similar class school sizes, we are separated into districts, and you compete within a district that's semi-regional to your location, and then the top placing teams will advance to our state meet. That takes place soon after the beginning of the year starts, with the end of October 28th being our deadline for district meets to have happened. So if you have a theater department, go ahead and get with your theater teacher and make sure that they are looking at the rules and the deadlines for starting the one-act play, because it is as soon as school starts, you're going to be wanting to start casting your plays and getting that rolling. We will be again in Kerrville this year for our one-act play event, and so we have 6 days of state championship one-act play. And I will tell you that the bar every year has just been raised. I've watched every play for the last couple of years, and they are just getting better and better. And the actors and the actresses, you can see the development in their character over the years. Some of them last year seniors, I thought, this is the 3rd time I've seen them, and they're incredible. And so you are doing a fine job in your classrooms teaching them those skills and just conveying emotion in what they're doing. And so you're doing great with that. Our last event that we have in the fall is our cheer event. This year will be in November. Fellowship of Christian Cheer will be sponsoring that again this year. We haven't nailed down a finalized location, but we should have that done in the next week or so. This year we introduced the Spirit Squad. We have traditionally had the stunting and the tumbling and the tosses and hardcore competition squads, and then we realized there is a need. We have plenty of schools that don't do the stunts, and so we offered a spirit category. We'll do that again this year, and we had a good turnout at that. And it's the band dance and the cheer and chant and the jumps and just your normal sideline cheer that you have at basketball and football. And so we will have those divisions again this year, and we hope to have more teams come out for that. In the spring, we'll have our dance competition. It worked out really well this year to be at a gym where they had the basketball court goal lines marked and half court lines, and they appreciated dancing on a surface that was what they were used to doing at their schools. We had a great turnout. The gym was packed. Standing room only. The stands were packed, and all the dancers on the floor all the way up to the line of competition. So we're looking at a bigger gym this year to accommodate that growth, but it was a fantastic event as well. In the spring, we have music events. Some of you might say, well, I don't have a choir, or I don't have a band, but I have kids that take private lessons. How can they participate? We have a solo and ensemble event that is for band, choir, and orchestra students. They do not have to be enrolled in a band or a choir or orchestra. If they take private lessons, then they can work with their private teacher, or if they just learn on their own, your school can register them. We do have some regulations as far as where they find the music in order to perform, but the solos include even guitar and piano, as well as the traditional band and orchestra instruments, and voice solos. Those events are local to your region. We have one in Houston, hosted by Houston Baptist, San Antonio at St. Mary's University, Austin, this year will be at Concordia University in Austin, Lubbock at Lubbock Christian High School and Lubbock Christian University, and UT Arlington. And those events take place all in 1 week. Your school can register for that just if you have one solo or if you have 45. At that event, we also do small ensembles, and so you can have a trio or quartet, or even with choir, they get a little bit larger, up to 20. And so those solo and ensemble events are in March. Usually it's just about the last week of March this year. The following week will be our art and academic and robotics event here at the Waco Convention Center. For art, I want to let you know that it's not just drawing and painting. We also have short film. Several of our schools have film departments and don't realize that we have a film contest as part of our art department. So as a fine arts director and admin, just make sure your departments are talking to each other so that those film students can enter in the art program championship. We do documentaries, narratives, and animation films, and your school can enter up to 3 each of those. In addition, we have graphic design and communication design, applied design, textile arts. We've seen some beautiful dresses being sewn and designed, and just things that you aren't necessarily inside the box of a regular 2D art class. So there are some 3D events that we have with just different design and architectural type things. We also have photography in the spring as well, and painting and drawing. On site, we do on-site drawing, and we do on-site seek and sketch, where they go outside and find something in nature, and then they have 2 hours to draw, and then they bring it back in for the judges to adjudicate. And it's really fine sight to go outside and just see the kids in action while we're here. While that same meet is going on, we do our academics meet, and the academics include ready writing and yearbook, science, math, social studies, spelling, and then we have our speech events, which are poetry, prose, original oratory, persuasive speaking, and debate. I think I'm missing one. But those all happen here. This year we had, at one point, we had 28 rooms in this building that had contestants filled with 3 judges each, and it was quite a sight to think there are 28 rooms of, I think it was, it wasn't poetry. I don't remember what it was, but it was full. Every single room in this building, and I was trying to find more spaces and blocking off hallways, and where can I put pipe and drape to create another small space? But we filled the space, and it was amazing. So that meet is happening, and then we also have debate, and I think this year we had the most debate teams than we have ever had. And so if you're considering a debate group, we have connections within our schools that can help you start a debate team, and then you can compete in circuits around the state as well as at our state event. And then robotics last year was in May, but like we said earlier, that it will be a part of our art and academic meet this year. So those are all the things that we offer. I encourage you to take that all back to your school and say, hey, we've only been doing art and academic. What about these other things? We have 230 TAPPS schools, and most of those 230 schools have a basketball team and a cross-country team and a track team. Only about 100 of those schools will participate in one or more fine arts events. And so I am encouraging you to not just sign up for one, but sign up for 10 fine arts events. And because you're all teaching these things in your school. You're all teaching math, and so you can enter your kids in the academic meet. You're all teaching science. Many of you have STEM programs, so you could start a robotics team. A lot of you have music programs, and so you could bring solos. Even if you only have 10 kids, that's plenty to bring to our TAPPS events. So think about what your school is already offering, and then line it up with the things that TAPPS offers, and then let's see if we can increase our participation at our events. At this time, I'd like to call out our Student of the Year and Teacher of the Year awards. Two of our students this year are actually in the honor choir, and so we're going to re-recognize them when the honor choir comes in. They don't know that they have the award, so it'll be pretty exciting. And so we'll start with the Female Student of the Years. And in 1A, if this is your school, teachers, you can come accept it. We have Sarah Amaya from Universal City First Baptist. And for the Male Student of the Year, we have Daniel Hooker from Universal City First Baptist. He's in the choir. So I'll recall him out in a little bit. For 2A, at Temple Holy Trinity Catholic High School, we have Madison Lures. And Samuel Mossmeyer, also from Holy Trinity. I think this is the first, but it looks like many of the schools swept both sides. For 3A, we have from Tomball Rose Hill Christian School, Michael Thorson. And for the female, Allison Strange. For 5A, from Grace Community School, we have Jason Reese. And from Grace Community School, Holly Gray. Which hers is there, and she's in the choir. I think I skipped 4A. Sorry about that. For 4A, we have from Geneva School of Bernie, Nathan Young. And the female student is Eleanor Galbraith, also from Geneva School. And for 6A, we have student William Flynn from Tomball Concordia Lutheran High School. And Sarah Groschel from Concordia Lutheran High School. Okay, with Teachers of the Years for 1A and 2A, we did not have nominations. I want to encourage you all to nominate your teachers for Teacher of the Year. For 3A, from Round Rock Concordia High School, we have Lisa Fitzgerald. You're not, Lisa. From Bernie Geneva School of Bernie, we have Benjamin Beast representing 4A. Yay, Ben. From 5A, from the Brook Hill School in Bullard, we have Patty Eden, who is currently working with our choir. Oh, she's in here. Fantastic. She's been working with our honor choir all day. Congratulations. And for 6A from Concordia Lutheran High School, Nancy Payne. So throughout the year, I need to read these. Throughout the year, your schools are participating in fine arts events for championship events, and when you place in the top 6, you get points. So if you're the first place at vocal music, you get 10 points added to your school total, which goes towards a big, huge Henderson Cup, which are on display, I think, in the event office right now. So throughout the year, you're collecting points from all these championships. So we have awards for the overall fine arts points. So if I call out your school, you can come accept this award. Overall fine arts in the 1A, collecting all the points for 1A fine arts, is Wichita Christian School. For 2A, overall fine arts is Bethesda Christian School. For 3A, overall fine arts, we have Round Rock Christian Academy. For 4A, overall fine arts, we have Geneva School of Burney. For 5A, overall fine arts, we have Grace Community School. And our 6A overall fine arts winner is Concordia Lutheran High School in Tomball. And the winner of the Steps Award. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Vina. Now I'm going to introduce Mr. Robert Huckabee, Associate Director of TAPPS, Director of Compliance, who will introduce our keynote speaker. And they grew up in towns not too far apart, so I figured maybe they could relate to each other. Mr. Robert Huckabee.
Thank you, Steve. Each year as we plan our convention for the next year, one of the first things that we start looking at is who can we reach out to be a keynote speaker at this session and also in our athletic session tomorrow. And in doing that last year, in visiting with people, several people said, you need to get Dr. Greg Dale from Duke. And so we reached out to him, and fortunately we were able to get on his schedule, and honored to have him here today. Dr. Dale is a professor of sports psychology and sports ethics at Duke University. He's also the director of the sports psychology and leadership programs for Duke. In addition to working with Duke athletes and coaches, he also consults with numerous colleges and professional athletes and teams. He provides educational programming for schools around the world, for administrators, for teachers, coaches, parents, and students. He has written 5 books related to leadership, performance, and parenting. He serves on the advisory boards for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the Positive Coaching Alliance, and the U.S. Lacrosse Coaches Association. He's also been featured on Good Morning America, ESPN, MSNBC, Court TV, and numerous other national radio programs. He is also from Central Texas. He grew up in Troy, small town just a few miles south of here. And so help me in extending a warm TAPPS welcome to Dr. Gregory Dale.
Thank you. So, yes, I am from right here in Central Texas, from Troy, Texas. It's an honor for me to be able to come back here and spend time with you guys. You know, Troy's pretty rural, and we got a lot of rural places in North Carolina. I was in the mountains the other day doing some work with a group, and I walked into a convenience store, and there was a gentleman over there, and he was trying to do Siri, and he was saying www.groupons.com, and it wouldn't work for him. And it wouldn't work. He kept saying it several times, and I walked over to try to help him a little bit, and I looked at Siri, and Siri was saying, Debbie, Debbie, Debbie. I knew I was in rural North Carolina when I saw that. I hope I affirm you. I'm a former middle school and high school teacher. I started my work, I taught at an all-boys private school in New York City. I taught elementary science, I taught middle school science, and then I coached in the afternoons. And then I went back down to San Antonio and taught and coached there at the middle school level there. Two of my favorite teachers of all time, Mr. Bruton was my band teacher in middle school here in Troy. One of my favorite teachers of all time. And then I also spent 5 years in Alaska, living in a rural community as a kid there. And one of my other favorite teachers was Miss Finnefrock, who was my art teacher. I absolutely love and appreciate what you guys do every day. I want to affirm you and just hope you feel good about what you do. Whether you're a teacher or you're an administrator, you lead a department, whatever it is, I just want us to spend a little bit of time and help you be a little self-reflective, all right? First thing I'm going to ask you to do is, can you cross your arms for me? Can you guys, got to wake you guys up a little bit here, right? So can you all cross your arms? Some of you are already crossing your arms, like, what is this guy going to talk to me about today? Is it fair to say that you guys do that? Every time you do that, you don't even think about it. You cross your arms just like this without even thinking about it. Now I want you to unfold your arms and cross them again, but do it exactly opposite of the way that you just did it. Totally opposite. How's that feel? Feels a little awkward, right? Feels a little weird? Yeah. Now I'm looking at you. I can't tell any difference. But for you, it feels very, all right, you can let go. Some of you are starting to sweat a little bit here. I want to get you to think about, like, what's one thing that you might change as a result of our time together today? I'm only asking you to think about maybe one. What's one thing that, I tend to do this, but maybe I'm going to start trying to do this, all right? Now, someone told me a long time ago, when I'm working with fine arts people, to never use sport analogies. So the first thing I'd like to do is use a sport analogy here. And I would challenge you guys that the culture in your classroom or the organization that you lead is a direct reflection on you and your leadership. I'm going to say that again. It's a direct reflection on you and your leadership. I hear teachers say all the time, these kids, boy, they're all entitled. They're not motivated. They're on and on and on and on. And I would tell you, maybe it's not the kids. Simon Sinek, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he talks about a story where he went to a barista he was in Las Vegas at the Four Seasons Hotel. And this guy named Noah was the barista down in the lobby. And Noah was there, and Noah was amazing at what he did. And Simon asked him, do you like your job? And he said, I love my job. He said, why do you love your job? He said, well, because my managers, the people that are in charge of me, are continually asking me, what do they need from me? What do I need from them? How can I help you be successful? He says, you know what? But I also work at Caesar's Palace. And I do the exact same job at Caesar's Palace, and I hate my job at Caesar's Palace. He's like, well, why do you hate your job at Caesar's Palace? He said, because the managers there are always trying to find you doing something wrong. They never encourage you. They are not willing to try to help. They're always trying to find you screwing up. Same guy doing the same job in two different places. Tell me that's not about the leadership. Tell me that's not about the culture that's created there, right? And so what I want you to do as we go through here a little bit today is to think about where you are and you're in kind of the art of teaching and how you do things here every day. And to help us really think about that, and now our technology is not working, but here's some questions I'd like for you to think about as we go through here. See if I can get this to work again. Yes. Do you know and actively live your purpose? I know we talk about that a lot. We throw it around a lot, but when's the last time you shared your purpose with someone? When's the last time? You guys ever ask why you do this? Why am I doing this? You guys ever ask yourself that? Yeah, sometimes we do, right? How about this one? Do you make learning drudgery or challenging and fun? Look at this. Is there a difference in somebody saying, I have to do something, I get to do something, and I want to do something? Is there a difference there, you think? There is, right? How many of your kids naturally are in that want to group? What is I have to? What is that? What is that? I have to. Anybody? It's kind of an obligation, right? It's an obligation. It's I have no choice. I get to it's a privilege. I'm going to learn something from this. I'm going to get something out of this. I want to. Those kids love it. We're going to hear a great choir here in a little while. I bet a lot of those kids look at practice like, I want to go, right? I want to go. My challenge to you as teachers and leaders is, how do we get those people in there and then I have to group? How do we get them in that I get to group? I think a part of that is how we motivate them. Are you interested in what's best for you or best for your students? Be careful about saying I and my as a leader, as a teacher. I did this and I do this and I did that, or my classroom, or this is my orchestra, or this is my. I'm going to challenge you, it's not yours. How about talking about it like it's we and our and us? I love this. I do some work in the corporate world, working with leaders and teams, and I work with this company that builds really large facilities, and they built the stadium up in New York or in New Jersey where the Giants and the Jets play. And the leader of that team was giving a tour after they finished building this multi-million-dollar stadium, billion-dollar stadium, I should say. And on 2 different occasions, he said, "You know what? I built this stadium," to those people. And I challenged him later, you didn't build anything. The team that you led built that stadium. The best teachers I've ever been around, the best leaders I've ever been around, the best coaches I've ever been around are really good at distributing the credit when things go well, and they're willing to take the credit when things don't go well. Is it about you or is it about them? I know with teachers, we don't, we don't give real hard assignments because it's more difficult for us to grade. I would argue that's more about us than it is about them. 2 of our teams at Duke, when they fly to away competitions, the coaches, because they recruit, they have status with the airlines. And those guys, every time one of the coaches gets a first-class ticket, they take and give it to one of the athletes on the team, and the athletes take turns sitting in first class, and the coaches always sit back and coach. Interesting. You talk about buy-in. Those kids love being a part of that program. Are we able to admit when you're wrong? Can you go in there and say, I made a mistake? I was wrong. Now, everybody says, of course I do that. But I find most people struggle with this. We struggle with this. Are you willing to say, I made a mistake or I was wrong? Has anybody ever worked for somebody who's never wrong? You guys ever worked for somebody who's never wrong? What's that like? Is that motivating? Has anybody ever been married to somebody who's never wrong? One guy said 3 times now he's been married to somebody who's never wrong. Guess he hadn't figured that one out yet. Maybe it's you. Can you go into your students and say, I made a mistake. I was wrong. I don't know the answer. I'll come back and get that to you. See, I think we say we do that, but sometimes we struggle because of our ego, or we're going to feel like we lose credibility. But I'm going to argue your credibility goes up if you're willing to do that. Can you do that? Are you able to establish trusting relationships with your kids? How do you lose kids' trust? How do you lose their trust? Somebody tell us. Not doing what you say you're going to do. Yes. How else might you lose their trust? Say it again. Lead them into failure regularly, right? Yes, yes. What else? You're not consistent. You betray their confidence. If we had time, we'd talk a lot about the consistency thing. I want you to just think about it. When it comes to discipline, do you treat everyone the same? And when it comes to consequences, do you state your consequences ahead of time? I'm going to encourage you that life is a series of extenuating circumstances. And if you live in a black and white world as a teacher, as a leader, you're going to miss lots of opportunities to have an impact on kids. I'm going to encourage you, be careful about having a lot of rules. Be careful about stating the consequences ahead of time, because if you do, you will paint yourself into a corner. And I would challenge you, if you state consequences ahead of time, you can't take into consideration extenuating circumstances. If you do this, this will happen. If you don't do this when that happens, you will lose credibility. Okay? I'm just saying leadership is about making decisions. So being consistent is that we hold everyone accountable, that we are consistent with that. Okay? Something to think about. And by the way, you don't have to agree with everything I say. I just want you to think. That's all I really want you to do. Next one here is, do you effectively balance accountability and empathy? I think some of us are really good with accountability. And boy, we got high standards, and we hold kids accountable, and we're demanding, but we struggle with the empathy piece. Now, some of us, like me, are really empathetic, and we get taken advantage of sometimes because we can't hold people accountable. We struggle with conflict. We struggle with that piece a little bit, okay? I'd like for you to think about that. And then the last piece, do you have a firm understanding between the differences in dignity and respect? We talk about them like they're the same. I just want to spend a little bit of time on these as we go through our time together here today, all right? So from my perspective, having a chance to work with lots of different teachers and leaders, and here are just three things. I want to spend a little bit of time with you. Purpose. We're going to talk about the ability to do that, the ability to balance accountability, empathy, and then dignity and respect. I want to talk about those. But to help us understand that, I think we go through 5 stages during our careers as teachers, 5 seasons, so to speak. I'd like for you to think about where you are right now, because I would argue the level of engagement that your kids have, your passion for what you do, might be impacted by these seasons. Now, the first season of a teacher's career is what we call the swamp stage. Who are these teachers? We've all been there. Who is this? First year. What's it like being your first year teacher? You guys remember that? Like drinking from a fire hose, right? You guys ever feel like you were swamped? Yeah, I remember teaching, and here's what I did. I demanded that all these kids respect me because I was insecure as a teacher. Man, you're going to respect me. And speaking of respect, how about like? Is it important that your students like you? I'd like you to think about that for a minute. A lot of teachers say, you know what, I don't care if kids like me, I just want them to respect me. I heard a principal say one time, right before I got up to talk to a group of teachers during an in-service, he said, look, I don't think kids learn from teachers they don't like. They have to like something about you. They have to like something about that person that's demanding these things. What I've found is the best teachers I've ever been around, best leaders, have both. They have respect and like. It doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. You either respect me or you like me. You can have both. Well, if they have to sacrifice one, which one are they sacrificing every time? Like or respect? The like piece of it, right? It can't be your main goal. It can't be, I want all these kids to like me all the time. No. But what I find is like is a byproduct of how you treat kids. Matter of fact, I'll take it even one step further. When I hear kids talk about their teachers, they'd say, I love Mrs. So-and-so. I love Mr. So-and-so. I love being in that classroom. The reality is they might not like you every day, And you probably don't like them every day too either. Is that fair? Yeah. But what kind of relationship do you have with kids? I find that we either going to demand that everybody respect us, or we want everybody to like us when we're in this stage right here. Next stage is what we call, sorry guys, I'm not sure why we're having such a hard time here today. We start to figure it out a little bit. Start to get into a little bit of smooth sailing here. Third stage, well, we're full speed ahead. This is where you, not only are you influencing kids in a positive way, but you're mentoring other people, other colleagues. You're helping younger teachers. Your first response isn't always, oh, we don't do that here. Oh, that won't work here. Hey, let's try that. Let's look at that. You're trying to help. Not only are you doing that with kids, you're doing that with your colleagues. This is a stage of significance. This is that servant leadership model. These kids you're here to help these kids be successful as opposed to them helping you look good. Now, at some point, we might become what I call adrift a little bit. We start to flatline a little bit. Maybe we start to lose a little passion for what we're doing. Maybe we're not willing to stay late anymore like we used to be, or maybe not willing to come early. We're the first ones out the door as soon as our practice is over or our situation is over. We start to do the same things year after year, and we become a little complacent in what we're doing. Can kids tell, by the way, if you lost a little bit of passion for what you're doing? Sure they can. Now, the last stage is called the dead in the water stage. This is where, now, would you guys agree that life happens to us sometimes, right? Life happens. We get sick, our loved ones get sick, things happen to us, and it affects what we're doing. But this is where we kind of have one foot out the door. I heard one teacher say to another teacher, all I got to do is put in 2 more years and I can get out of here. Sounds like he's in prison. Think about it. Now, if that person was directing the play at your school, would you want your kid to be a part of that program? That was the art teacher at your school. Would you want your kid taking art from that kid? I don't think so. I think the reality is, now, would you guys agree that maybe you can go through all those in 1 week? You guys ever feel like that at the bottom, at the end of the week? I find that great teachers, great leaders, great coaches are exhausted at the end of the week because they're passionate about what they do. Hopefully you find some ways to recharge your batteries. That's what part of summer's about, right? But you are recharging yourself. Now, I would also tell you that if you ever go to University of North Carolina, I'm also a professor at Duke, but if you ever go to UNC, which is 8 miles down the road, if you go to this place called Franklin Street where they have all these little bars and restaurants, you'll see a couple of those University of North Carolina professors in what we would call that dead in the water stage. Come on. I know the anticipation's killing you, right? There they are, yes. I got to get my digs in whenever I can here, right? So I would tell you that if you love teaching, kids are going to be more likely to want to learn, right? Kids are going to be more likely to want to be a part of what you're doing. And to help us think about that, I'm sure, again, that you guys talk about this some. Maybe you think about it a lot, or maybe you don't, but I'd like to try to get you to think a little bit about it, is purpose. Now, I realize some of you might have seen this by Mark Twain. The 2 most important days in your life were the day you were born and the day you figure out why you were born. I don't know if you guys can see this. It's a pretty busy slide. But that gentleman I was talking about earlier, Simon Sinek, he studies great leaders. He studies great organizations. And I'd like for you to just look at what he calls the golden circle, kind of toward the middle left bottom there. And he talks about how most organizations start off and talk about what they do. They talk about what they do, and they talk about how they do it. I bet most of you in this room, you talk about what you do, and you talk about how you do it. And you all know what you do, and you all know how you do it. But he said great leaders always start with why. great organizations and leaders and teachers and coaches start with why. You want to inspire people? Talk about why we do what we do. If you want to not inspire people, continually talk about what we're doing and how we do that. How did Martin Luther King get 250,000 people to come to Washington, D.C. before the internet? They didn't come because of Martin Luther King. They came because of his dream. They came because of what he believed in. They came because of his purpose, right? And if you want to motivate people, if you want to inspire people, you need to think about your why and our collective why. Why are we doing what we do? I want to give you a couple of examples here to help you make this a little more relevant. This gentleman, maybe some of you have seen this, but this gentleman was walking by these three bricklayers who were building a hospital. And they were focusing on a wall, and he asked the first guy, he said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm laying these darn bricks," right? Got my job, doing my job. Second guy, he asked him, "What are you doing?" And this guy said, "I'm feeding my family." Now that guy's a little more invested, right? A little bit more. Look at the third guy. What do you think? When it gets really hard, when it gets frustrating, would you agree that that guy's probably going to be a little more invested in what he's doing? You know, Angela Duckworth, in her book called Grit, I don't know if you've read that book, but you should take a look at it. The grittiest people in the world, the most resilient people in the world, are people who have a higher purpose than themselves. And they continually think about that. They're continually focused on something that's bigger than them. The grittiest, most resilient people across the world have that. They know and understand that their purpose is bigger than them. One more story, and then I want to show you a short video clip here. John F. Kennedy, in the early 1960s, we were way behind the Russians in our space program. And Kennedy said, "Look, we got to change things." And so they developed NASA. And he said, "Our purpose is to put a man on the moon by the end of this decade." That's our purpose. We need everybody in. He talked about how he went and visited NASA, and he went over there, and he was visiting, and he started talking to the janitor who was mopping the floor over in the corner. And they began a conversation, he said, and I asked him, "What are you doing?" And he very quickly replied, "Sir, I'm part of a team who's working really hard to put a man on the moon by the end of this decade." He didn't say, "I'm over here sweeping the floors, collecting my paycheck." I'm part of a team who's working really hard to put a man on the moon. That guy's invested, isn't he? That guy has a higher purpose than just himself. I want to show you guys this clip here in just a second. But if you haven't thought about your why lately, I'd encourage you to write it down. My why is to elevate you guys and help you impact others along your journey. That's my purpose in life. What I do is I teach classes, I do this, I write books, I do different things. That's my purpose. Now, my purpose helps sustain me. I'm going to miss out on something with one of my sons later today. I have to miss out sometimes on things. You guys ever miss out on things with your kids? Sure you do. It helps sustain me. It helps me. I'm hoping that I get one of you to think about what you're doing and maybe change a little bit about what you do as a teacher. How many kids might that have an impact on? Right? That's what drives me. That's what helps sustain me when I'm thinking about I'm missing out on something Jacob's going to do a little bit later on today. It helps sustain you. As Nietzsche says, he who has a why can endure anyhow. I'm going to show you guys this video clip here. Some of you might have seen this, I don't know. But there's a gentleman, he's a comedian. And he travels around and he talks to different people and he interacts with the audience. And he's going to ask this gentleman, who happens to be a music teacher at a school in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. He's going to ask him to sing a verse of a song. And he sings it twice. And I'd like you to pay attention to the first time he sings it versus the second time, and the impact that he has on the people around him each of those two times, all right? Now, this happens to be a verse of a Christian hymnal, so if you struggle with that piece of it, please just look past that and focus on the message here. All right? Let's see if we can get this to work for us.
This is called How Do I Know? And a lot of times when people hear the phrase, how do I know, the next thing they say is what? How do I know what? But the key really isn't to know what. The key is to know why. Because when you know your why, you have options on what your what can be. For instance, my why is to inspire people to walk in purpose. My what is stand-up comedy. My what is writing books. My what can be going out with some friends to eat. In fact, another what that has moved me towards my why is a web series that we have out now called Break Time. So every Wednesday at 3 o'clock, you should subscribe to the channel. We do a series called Break Time on YouTube. So 3 o'clock, we drop a new episode. One episode in particular, I'm about to show you a clip to. We were in Winston-Salem. So Break Time, this is how it works. I travel the country, I do stand-up comedy, probably an hour and a half at an event. And in the middle of my show, I'll just sit down and start talking to the audience. And funny just happens. Or I'll meet somebody who's really interesting. So I met this one guy, and he said that he teaches music at a school. I was like, all right, you teach music, can you sing? And then I'm just gonna show you the clip. Check it. So you're a musical director. Cool.
Yes, sir.
All right, so let me get a couple bars of like Amazing Grace. Can you do the first part of that? Go ahead.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
Wow. That bro could sing. You know what I'm saying? All right. Now, what you give me the version is if your uncle just got out of jail, you got shot in the back when you was a kid. I'm just saying, let me see the hood version real quick, if you know which version I'm talking about. Just see if that exists. Let me see what you got.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Right now I'm found, was blind, but now I see.
So here's the thing. The first time I asked him to sing, he knew what he was doing. The second time I asked him to sing, he knew why he was doing it. When you know your why, your what has more impact because you're walking in or towards your purpose.
So, I'd love to, what do you think? Does that apply to you guys at all? How might that apply to what you guys do every day? Anybody have a thought about that? Could you tell the difference in the second time versus the first time? Huge difference, right? What impact did it have on the people around him? Much different. I told you about Mr. Bruton, my band teacher. That guy absolutely loved what he did. Every day, that guy would come in and be passionate about what he did. I have no music ability at all, still to this day. Not because of him, but because of me, right? But that guy loved what he did. You could tell he had a passion for what he was doing. I'm going to encourage you to think about this summer. You ought to write down. This is a reminder why you do what you do. a show of hands. How many of you would say the accountability piece comes a little more natural to you than the empathy? You have anybody in the room that would say that? Nobody? You guys are fine arts teachers, you're also empathetic, right? Yes. How many of you are more empathetic? Yes. Yes. Right? So, this is good. You guys need to hear this piece then, right? That we need to have high standards. Would you guys agree with that? That you're not being a good leader if you don't have high standards, good teacher, if you're not demanding. Now, we have a certain standard. We're going to be demanding. We're going to hold everyone accountable in that organization. And I think one of the things you guys got to make sure you do is have more authentic conversations. I think you lose credibility as a teacher when you bring everybody together and say, hey, we all got to focus better. We all got to stop screwing around. And everybody knows we're talking about these two knuckleheads right here, but you don't have the ability to talk to these two people. Does that make sense? Have authentic conversations with people. Be willing to hold them accountable. Have the hard conversations with kids, with each other. You got to be willing to do that. And then also, this is more kind of like as colleagues in your departments. How many of you work within a department or a group? Because all on a team, many of you are on a team? Yes. The Bermuda Triangle, Henry Cloud in his work, The Power of the Other, talks about the Bermuda Triangle. We don't have authentic conversations even as adults. We have Becky and Adam. I've done something to Becky, so now I'm a villain. Becky's the victim because I did something to her. And Adam is our department chair, and so she goes and talks to Adam about it. He now becomes the rescuer. And he's either going to help you kind of figure out how to have a conversation with me, or he's going to jump in and say, yep, hey, I'm not good. And those two feel better about themselves, right? If you're in a leadership position, don't be the rescuer. If somebody comes to you, there's a couple organizations I work with, we call it, we have a 48-hour rule. The first question you should ask is, when did that occur? And if it occurred more than 48 hours ago, you have to let it go. And if it happened more than 48 hours ago, it wasn't that important. If it's happened within 48 hours, then you teach them and talk to them about how you can go and address that, how you're going to address that with regret. As opposed to being the rescuer and giving them the out all the time. Does that make sense? So think about that. And then you got to go get results, right? You got to be able to do that. So that's the accountability piece. I think sometimes we struggle with the authentic conversations sometimes. Now, the next piece, though, is the empathy piece, and it sounds like many of you, like me, tend to head in this direction. I don't know if you can see that, but it says I totally I know exactly how you feel. What's the difference between empathy and sympathy? I would argue sympathy is, well, that kind of sucks for you. I feel bad for you. Empathy is, I'm going to try to put myself in your shoes, right? Try to see things from your perspective. But I'm going to put something up here. I'd like you to think about this. Do you agree or you disagree with that? I grew up, as I told you, in Troy, Texas, 20 miles south of here. Lived out in the country. It was a big deal for us to be able to go into town. There was a store there that we could get to go into when we were kids. About 10 years ago, a buddy of mine and I were talking about this. And he said, Greg, I bet you never once went into that store and had somebody follow you around the entire time you were in the store. No, I never even thought about that. It never happened to me. He said it happened every single time I went in that store. Somebody followed me around every single time. See, I don't know what it's like to be a black man growing up in Central Texas in the country in the 1970s and 1980s. I can see where you're coming from every single day. I don't know what that's like. I don't know what it's like to be a single mother, trying to raise two kids and work and balance it all the time. I don't know what it's like to grow up in a wealthy family. You understand what I'm saying? It's easy for us to be empathetic with people who look like us and act like us and talk like us and come from the same place that we do. We have to work very hard at putting ourselves in other people's shoes. And sometimes I would argue you can't do that. But the thing that can help you, if you can't, is your ability to show compassion And while compassion, you might not be able to put yourself in their shoes, but you're trying to help them in some way. So maybe it's not that we're always empathetic, maybe we're compassionate. Okay? I'd like you to think about that. And then this other piece, if you operate from the paradigm that the overwhelming majority of the people want to succeed, as opposed to these kids are a bunch of lazy turds and they're not motivated, they're entitled, it's going to be pretty hard for you to be empathetic. Am I right? Think about it. So what paradigm do you operate from every day? It's much harder, much more difficult to be empathetic when we don't do that. Now, Lynn Kashmerick was here last year. Did you guys hear Lynn last year? I don't know if you guys heard. So, is a colleague of mine. But how about this? Would you agree that we all have a story? I'm not going to ask you to do this right now, but if I were to ask you to stand up if your family struggled financially when you were growing up, some of you in this room would stand up. If I were to ask you to stand up right now, if you're in a relationship with a significant other or with a child, it's not where you want it to be right now, some of you would stand up. If I were to ask you if you have a sick loved one who you're having to help take care of, and it's impacting your sleep and your ability to focus every day, some of you in this room would stand up. Am I right? We walk around every single day, and you don't know what's going on under the surface, so to speak. I'm just going to encourage you that sometimes we have to keep that in mind. I want to show you a video that we did at Duke to help our coaches be a little more empathetic, and our administrators. But I'd like you to think about this and think about just trying to remember that the people that you're with every day and the kids you're around, that sometimes we need to just be a little more empathetic. there. So I hope that you guys, again, know tomorrow when I'm talking to coaches, coaches are a little less empathetic sometimes, I think. Speaking from prior experience myself. Last thing, real quickly, we gotta get through this. How about dignity? How about this? Have you ever lost respect for a colleague or a student? What do you think? You guys ever lost respect for a colleague or a student at some point? I think yes. If you think about it, the difference between dignity and respect. Is there a difference between dignity and respect? Does everyone deserve to be treated with respect? Do all your colleagues deserve to be treated with respect? How about this? Do all your kids deserve to be treated with respect? How about, does everyone deserve to be treated with dignity? So we talk about these like they're the same. Here's the deal. They're not the same. Dignity is an attribute that we're born with, right? It's our inherent value. How can we say she doesn't have value? I would argue that we are all worthy, and all of our kids are. And although everyone has dignity, I think that respect is something that you have to earn. Respect is something that you earn. Dignity is something that you're born with. It's something that you have naturally. And I think it's important to treat each other with dignity. So here's a couple of things for you to think about. Just think about you in the relationships that you have. Just like if you think about which of those resonate with you most when it comes to treating people with dignity. Do you create a culture? Look at that second place, that second bullet point. Do you create a culture where kids can make mistakes? Or do you create a culture where kids are afraid to fail, or afraid to say I don't know the answer, or afraid to admit that they were wrong, or whatever? Do you create an environment? The language that we use around each other helps create a place of safety for kids. So I'd like you to think about that. I don't know, you probably can't read that right there, but it says how people treat other people is a direct reflection of how they feel about themselves. If you're insecure, you're probably going to struggle treating people with dignity when things aren't going your way, or you struggle. Here's a couple of things. I'm not going to take the time to go through these all because we're starting to run out of time here, but just like for you to think about how you do with this piece of it. Are you willing to take responsibility for your actions when you violate somebody else's dignity? Communication breaks down when we stop treating each other with dignity. So, here are a few more. I'd like for you to think about, I'm guilty. I've been guilty of several of these. That's how road rage happens in that second one. I've been guilty of all these. I don't know about you, but I just try to give you to think about with your kids, with your colleagues. Be careful about undermining. You might lose their respect. The challenge is, how do you still treat a kid that you've lost respect for? How do you still treat her with dignity? How do you treat that colleague who you've lost respect for? How do you still treat him with dignity? It's important to think about, all right? All right, to wrap this up, again, I apologize for... First thing I'm going to say is, be yourself unless you're a jerk, all right? Be authentic. Be yourself. But if you're a jerk, probably not. Remember, people buy into the why more than they're going to buy into what or how. Try to remember to start with that more regularly. I think your expectations absolutely should be clear. Everybody should be held accountable. And if you struggle with the accountability piece, just know that you start to lose some credibility when you get taken advantage of all the time, because people know that they can do that. So you have to be aware of your ability to be able to hold people accountable. Oops, sorry. I went too fast. Sorry about that. So empathy and compassion are going to help you be more effective, and everyone deserves to be treated with dignity, even those that we no longer respect, okay? I would tell you, there's my contact information, guys. My cell phone or email are probably the best two places to get in touch with me. If you ever come to Durham, North Carolina, look me up. Duke's a great place. I'd love to show you around. Matter of fact, we have some kids in our athletic program that have come from your very schools, for sure. And it's a real privilege for me to work with them. Now, if you're looking for basketball tickets, I can't promise you basketball tickets, but if you come in the fall, I can promise you football tickets, maybe, if you want to do that. I do want to bring note to my last attempt at a book is a fiction. And it's a cross between A River Runs Through It and Tuesdays with Morrie. And it's about a teacher who's an experienced teacher who is mentoring a first-year teacher. And it's in South Texas, down on the Laguna Madre. So if you got nothing else to do this summer, maybe check out Catch and Release. I think it's a good book about kind of the art of teaching. I hope I affirmed you today. I hope I made you feel good about what you do as a teacher. Maybe I challenged you a little bit to think about what's something that you might be willing to do a little bit differently. Okay? Thank you for your time, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'd like to take a moment to introduce a few people. First of all, this is our first honor choir here at our TAPPS convention. We're super excited. We have some teachers that have been helping them in their sectionals this week, so I want to take a moment to introduce them. Working with our sopranos, we have Jennifer Furr from Grace Community School in Tyler. Accompanying the sopranos, we had Janine Becerra from Live Oak Classical School in Waco. Working with our altos, we had Patty Eden from the Brookfield School in Bullard. And Ken Dirksen from Waco, working with the altos. Working with our tenors and basses from Monsignor Kelly Catholic High School in Beaumont, we had Debbie Prihoda. And also from Kelly Catholic High School, Darla Lawless accompanying. We had some sponsors. J.W. Pepper provided our music for our students. Waco Piano Gallery brought their piano over to us. Music and Arts provided our rehearsal pianos. And our risers are on loan from the Youth Chorus of Central Texas here in Waco. Our honor choir today will be conducted by Amy Alabon. She taught secondary choral music for 30 years and is currently teaching at Baylor University, where she conducts the women's choir. Choirs under her direction have toured internationally and have performed for the Texas Music Educators and the American Choral Directors Association National Convention. Ms. Alabon is a past president of the Texas Choral Directors Association and has served TMEA in numerous regional officer positions. She has conducted all-region choirs throughout Texas, Nebraska, Arkansas, Florida, and Connecticut, and all-state choirs in Arkansas, South Carolina, and Oklahoma. She holds a Bachelor of Music Education from TCU, as well as a Master's in Music and Choral Conducting from Texas Tech. She's the recipient of numerous awards for her teaching, including the Haltom High School Teacher of the Year, the James Whitehead Coca-Cola Outstanding Educator, the Outstanding Music Alumni from Texas Tech, the Score a Goal in the Classroom Bayard Friedman Hero Award, and most recently the 2018 Texas Choral Directors Association Choral Excellence Award. Ms. Alabon's own experience in the Texas All-Region and the Texas All-State Choirs fueled her passion for music education. She resides in Fort Worth with a 100-year-old home with her husband of 29 years, Rob, and their 3 cats, Maggie, Millie, and Max. Let me introduce you to Amy Alabon. Before they get started, I have 2 awards that I want to recognize. We have 2 students, Fine Arts Students of the Ward, that are actually in the honor choir, and we recognized our Student of the Awards in our general session, but 2 students are actually in the choir, so I'm going to show it to you, and then you can get it from me in a minute. So for 1A from First Baptist Academy, Daniel Hooker. Yay! And you can leave it on the phone here. I'll give it to you, Mom. And 5A from Grace Community School, Holly Gray. Today they will be performing Give Me the Splendid Silent Sun by Eugene Butler, Dreams of Thee by Eric Barnum, and Praise His Holy Name by Keith Hampton. Let's hear it for the Honor Choir 2019.